All right, guys, today I'm doing a little bit of a surprise upload. I'm sure you are all well aware that I did not go live today for our usual Press X podcast episode. I do want to apologize for that. Honestly, I'm not feeling 100% today, and I have a little bit of an energy burst right now. So that's why I'm using this opportunity to talk about this, because I did come across something that I think you guys are going to want to hear about. I noticed that there has been a lot, and I mean a lot of interest in these types of topics on the channel recently, which is very understandable because it's something that I think a lot of people who are really into the next-gen consoles, are paying attention to. And so what I'm talking about here is the recent patch that was released by Ubisoft for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it turns out that the PS5 still outperforms the Xbox Series X, even with this patch. And this is worth noting because, we went over Microsoft's response to the situation, and a lot of people were saying that, Ubisoft is going to patch the game and all of these other titles where the PS5 is having a slight performance advantage, they're also going to get patched. And that patch is going to basically flip the tables and make it so that the Series X version of these games actually perform better, or at the very least, they're going to be on the same level and they're going to be basically identical in every way. Now, I'm not trying to continue talking about this as if this is some massive deal breaker. It's not. I've said it before, and I will always continue to say this until we see a major difference with any of these games that are being compared. Both versions are good. It's just that one version is going to be slightly better than the other, depending on which version you're playing. And so Digital Foundry, did a follow-up with this Assassin's Creed patch, and they talked about what exactly this patch did for the game. And it did add a performance mode, which is the important part here, because it seems as though the Series X was actually struggling to maintain those higher resolutions while still running a stable 60 FPS. It was causing some frame drops, but it was also causing a lot of screen tearing. So the good news here is that this patch actually removed the screen tearing, or at least, the majority of it, on the Xbox Series X version, which is great, but it had to do so at the expense of resolution. And the resolution has actually been reduced. I think it can go as low as 1080p, maybe around 1188p, but essentially 1080p, right? It has to go down that low, to whereas before the lowest it would go to is 1440p.
Recommendation here is if they can't fix it by doing, some sort of behind the scenes optimizations, that the game possibly on Xbox Series X needs a lower resolution bound. It drops down to 1440p, but that's probably not low enough. Yeah, so just like we said back then, they essentially did what we kind of recommended, and they changed the lower bottoming out resolution on Xbox Series X. So that means the lowest resolution that the game can drop to now is going to be different. And instead of being 1440p, which we counted last time as the lowest resolution on Xbox Series X, it'll now bottom out at what we counted as 1188p. But I definitely think, in spite of that this 60 FPS mode now on both games is really excellent. Obviously now Xbox Series X lower resolution in those moments than PS5. So that's something to of keep in mind.
That's no longer the case. What makes this so interesting is that the same cannot be said for the PS5 version. Digital Foundry has confirmed that there are actually no negative, impacts to the PS5 version with this patch that was released for Assassin's Creed.
So basically, from what I've seen, the patch didn't actually change much of anything on PlayStation 5's performance. Going through scene for scene, like for like running around here with the torch outside, or this area where it dipped quite heavily on Xbox Series X, it's the exact same on PlayStation 5. General combat, 60 FPS with some minor tears here or there that can occur. PlayStation 5, in spite of what you might have heard out there, it's basically the exact same, and we could not reproduce general worst performance.
This is worth noting because a lot of people were under the impression or spreading the information that the PS5 version now runs worse, and trying to make it seem as though Microsoft paid off Ubisoft to make it so that the Series X suddenly looks like it has the advantage. But Digital Foundry has confirmed that that is not the case. The PS5 version runs exactly the same. It runs exactly the same, as in it doesn't need to actually have that dip in resolution, or the dip in resolution doesn't have to be nearly as severe in order to maintain that stable 60 FPS. So, you can clearly see here that this is a thing that is still persisting even with the patch. And, to kind of segue from that, because I just wanted to relay that information to you guys. Assassin's Creed is kind of taking center stage here when it comes to console performance. And it's understandable that it would, because it's a bigger AAA title. And, Xbox does have the marketing rights to it. So it just makes for an interesting conversation to think, but it runs best on PS5, right? So I want to segue from this and kind of just talk about the responses that I'm getting. In fact, I've been getting kind of the same responses from Xbox fans and the Xbox fanboys for a little while now, basically ever since we started talking about this. And that response kind of falls in line with, take your win, your little win now while you can, because you're going to be taking some major L's later on. And this is very frustrating to me, because it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking? Like, don't come at me with that garbage, okay? Because if you listen to anything I've had to say, or even if you follow me on Twitter, you will know that I make it clear this could change in the future. Seriously, if you're somebody who's getting upset at me making these videos and talking about this, go listen to any of my previous videos talking about the subject or the matter, and you will know that I say pretty much word for word here that this could change. In the future, we could see the Series X outperforming the PS5, but that's the future, and that's not now. And so it really bothers me when people kind of come at me and make it sound like I'm talking about this as if I'm making some kind of prediction, like I'm sitting here saying, well, we better get used to this, or Xbox fanboys better brace themselves and get used to this, because going forward, every single PS5 game, third-party game, is going to outperform, the Series X. No, I never once said that. In fact, I have no idea what to expect. I've made sure to, make it clear that these are not major differences we're talking about, but they are still differences nonetheless, and I think they do need to be pointed out. That's why Digital Foundry does what they do. That's why they get so many views. That's why they get so much traction, because people do care about this. And, I can't help but get kind of annoyed when I see these types of responses towards me talking about this, because it's like, just accept the fact. Just accept the results. You don't have to be happy about it. And it's understandable that you maybe would be a little bit upset, but don't come at me making it sound like I'm saying some crazy stuff over here and I'm going way off the deep end, to where I'm going in way too hard. No, that's not what I'm doing at all. I think I'm just pointing out what the results are. I'm just making it clear that Microsoft set themselves up for a really, easy L here, honestly. And so did the Xbox fanboys, by just constantly going on and on about the power. And so they're like, keep that same energy, MBG. Make sure you keep that same energy. Keep that same energy for what? What? I'm confused. What am I supposed to keep that same energy for if the day does come when the Series X does actually offer better performance for some multi-plat titles over the PS5? What energy am I supposed to keep? Am I supposed to be like, oh man, we took it out? No, that's not what happens. I want everybody to be clear that that's not what happens in the future if that does end up happening. Okay? What happens is I turn around just like everybody else and say, oh, well, there you go. I guess Microsoft did fulfill their promise. It just took a couple more months longer than we expected, maybe even a couple more years than expected. But I will tell you this. You're right. I will keep this same energy, the energy that I have right now, if going into 2021 and even beyond that into 2022, or possibly this entire generation, if the PS5 continuously outperforms the Series X on a consistent basis, if this really does become a trend, then yes, you're right. I will keep that same energy, because this is the energy that honestly all these fanboys have brought out. It's not like I sat here assuming like, yeah, I can't wait till the PS5 outperforms that Series X so I can rub it in their faces. No. Again, I get all these responses. I'm like, go listen to what I was saying. Go listen to the words that were coming out of my mouth. I made it clear. I actually expected the Series X to perform slightly better. That was the expectation. So I'm going to end the video here. I don't want to keep going on, but I just kind of wanted to update you guys on this. Again, I got a little bit of an energy burst here because, I posted something on Twitter and I always get a lot of people coming at me. And I know you guys enjoy these videos. So I figured I'd put a little something out here for you guys today. I felt bad having to cancel the podcast, but don't worry, the podcast will be returning next Sunday, and we're going to return to our normal, content schedule here on the channel. So there you go. Even with this patch that was supposed to suddenly make the Series X either perform better than the PS5 or on par with the PS5 still comes out on top. So yeah, I don't know what it's going to take for all these guys to just accept that the PS5 right now is the best performing console, and it offers better performance for these games. So leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.